Hi all. Here today we discuss Neoclassic period in English literature. Neoclassic period in England spans the 140 years or so after the Restoration, and the Romantic period is usually taken to extend approximately from the outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789 or alternatively from the publication of lyrical ballads in 1798 through the first 3 decades of 19th century. With reference to American literature, the term neoclassic is rarely applied to 18th century writers or in 1830 between 1830 and 65, the era of Emerson, Thoreau, Poe, Melville and Hawthorne is called American Romantic period. Neoclassic and Romantic are frequently applied also to periods of German, French, and other continental literatures. More useful undertaking is simply to specify some salient attributes of literary theory and practice that were shared by a number of prominent writers in the neoclassic period in England, and that serve to distinguish them from many outstanding writers of the Romantic period. A list of ideas and characteristics that were shared between 1660 and the late 1700s by authors such as John Dryden, Alexander Pope, Joseph Addison, Jonathan Swift, Samuel Johnson, Oliver Goldsmith, and Edmund Burke may serve as an introductory sketch of some prominent features of neoclassic literature. So that is what I am going to list out. To begin with, first of all, the first characteristic trait that we shared in the neoclassic period is these authors exhibited a strong traditionalism which was often joined to a distrust of radical innovation and was evidenced above all in their great respect for classical writers, that is, the writers of ancient Greece and Rome, who were thought to have achieved all their excellence and established the enduring models in all the major literary genres. Now, the second idea put forward as far as the neoclassical writers are concerned is literature was conceived to be primarily an art, that is, a set of skills which, although it requires innate talents and must be perfected by long study and practice, and consists mainly in the deliberate adaptation of known and tested means to achievement of foreseen ends upon the audience of readers. And thirdly, its human beings are considered as an integral part of a social organization, were regarded as the primary subject matter of the major forms of literature during the neoclassic period. And fourth one, in both the subject matter and the appeal of art, emphasis was placed on what human beings possess in common representative characteristics and widely shared experiences, thoughts, feelings, and tastes. And fifth one, Neoclassic writers, like the major philosophers of time, viewed human beings as limited agents who ought to set themselves only accessible goals. And fifth one, the fifth idea or the trait that is put forward by the neoclassic writers would be the prevailing attitude favored innovation over traditionalism in the materials, forms and style of literature. If we talk about example like Wordsworth's preface to the second edition of Lyrical Ballads in 1800 was written as a poetic manifesto or a statement of revolutionary aims in which he denounced the upper class subjects and the poetic diction of preceding century. Okay, and the sixth one is, in his preface to Lyrical Ballads, Wordsworth repeatedly declared that good poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. According to his view, this view, poetry is not primarily a mirror of men in action. On the contrary, it is essential component in is the poet's own feelings. Okay, so that is the another trait as far as the neoclassic writers are concerned. And the seventh one is regarding to have a remarkable degree external nature, that is the landscape together with flora and fauna became a persistent subject of poetry and was described with an accuracy and sensuous nuance unprecedented in earlier writers. Okay, then eighth point is, neoclassic poetry was about other people, but many romantic poems, long and short, invited the reader to identify the protagonists with the poets themselves, either directly as in Wordsworth's Prelude, and a number of lyric poems are in altered but recognizable form, as in Lord Byron's Childe Harold. And the ninth trait, a number of political liberals, the infinite social promise of the French Revolution in the early 1790s fostered the sense in romantic writers that theirs was a great age of new beginnings and high possibilities. So many writers viewed a human being as endowed with limitless aspiration toward an infinite good envisioned by the faculty of imagination. So these are the main traits of neoclassical poetry or neoclassicism is concerned. Okay.